institutions are the individuals who led the civil rights movements in the 1960s.
That's right.
So those were the individuals who actually had received a superior education. We could compete with white America toe to toe.
Okay.
Then those programs were dismantled because of the theory of integration. Now, integration wasn't bad, but there was so much white resistance to integration, we never saw the real thing. If we did, why don't we have parity today? Why is it that you and I see students at Tennessee State University that not always are there, and that's why some of them will have to then look at remedial programs. Now, thank God it's not a whole number. It's not, the numbers are getting smaller now. Yes, because recognize that. Yes, it is important. They are not now remedial, as a lot of people in this community and others will say, black schools are remedial. That's not so. We are looking at an outstanding number of young people who are coming to Tennessee State University and now are going on to a number of graduate schools and professional schools. Of course they have. But the resistance in the middle school and the elementary schools and the high schools in America are still now beginning to change again into a segregated system. And so I would then propose that we look at then the old days of the black church coming back into the system. We now have a number of mega churches. You know, here in Nashville we have Joseph Walker, the Bishop Joseph Walker, and his church, Mount Zion Baptist Church. He has 18,000 members. Why not his church also have a school? And that would go from K through 12 and begin to look at how you refashion. Black people in America have never said that we would have a quota system that white people could not come. So if we have a superior education program that is developed, let's say, and I'll just use Mount Zion as the place, if that school is developed there and it's a superior school, you can believe white people will want to go to that school as well, and they will be welcome.
And that's how schools grow.
Exactly, that's exactly right. And that's how we develop then a colorblind America. So this initiative will begin to look at black people controlling their own destiny, and that scares white people quite a bit, because all of a sudden now they're not in charge of the money that you're paying the school teachers and the administrators, because now they'll be controlled by a black system and a white system and a Hispanic system. Now, some people will argue, oh, that's resegregation. Well, we already have resegregation anyway. Most of our schools are naturally segregated because of the housing patterns in America. If you can't afford to move to Bellevue or Brentwood, then your children are not going to go to an integrated school.
Now, has that always been the major problem in terms of integration housing? I think housing the NAACP thing has always been in reference.
Certainly.
If you can't create a situation where you've got an integrated neighborhood,
that's right,
then it's going to be almost impossible to have an integrated
exactly
school.
Right.
If you've got
so what my proposal is, and the paper that I'll be giving at Oxford this summer, will be that we ought to look at the facts and reality. And the reality is the school systems are already segregated. So why not then look at how are we shutting out parents? Black parents do not go to PTA PTA meetings because they are working. But if we had black people in charge of the system who understood the working patterns and the living patterns and the cultural situations of the black community, or the same of the Hispanic community, then let whites then come along. Because those who don't want to be integrated, don't want to be a part of the colorblind society, they have the Christian schools anyway. So let them stay at the Christian schools. But we will develop superior education in those new types of schools that are controlled by people who understand the people in that neighborhood. So we're talking about neighborhood school system. And when you talk about
where the neighborhood is, that's where the school, the individuals involved.
Now let me look at one other problem there. When we're looking at the problems right now of over 60 to 70% of the prisons in the United States of America have 60 to 70% black males incarcerated. How can that be logically if the black community is only 12% of the population of the United States? There are 350 million people in the United States, only 40 million black folk. Now, how in the world would we then be 60 to 70, 80% of the prison industrial complex? Something's wrong with that. Which means then we ought to address that. Well, that might mean that we ought to have one school that will be tailor-made for only only black boys in that school system that's tailor-made for that neighborhood. But where black boys then will be able to realize who they are, be able to develop then the manhood programs, or we might call it rites of passage, as opposed to trying to compete with a white boy that he seems to feel still like the doll test that was in the 1930s and the 1940s. He's still then seeing that. Something's wrong with that system. We need to revise it.
And of course, Dr. Hardy, you're going to have an opportunity to go beyond where we are today by going to England this summer and delivering this speech. And of course, it's at the Oxford Round Table, I understand.
Yes, sir.
Over the last 30 seconds, why don't you say something in reference to that organization?
Oxford, as you know, in my career, your career, if someone has invited you to Oxford to give a paper, I think it's probably the capstone of your career. And I'm certainly honored to have been invited, and I accepted it immediately, and it's a joy to have been invited. It's an honor to have been invited and to present my views to the people of the round.
And of course, these views will be disseminated widely. I mean, this is nothing that is done in a corner.
40 individuals will come from all around the world who will be there for that particular week.
And of course, let me encourage our audience, Dr. Hardy, to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.